Alrighty. I think we're doing it. I think the show's on. You know me. I always hope for a pretty casual, candid intro. Keeping it scuffed, keeping it real, legitimate and authentic. Hey, having a ton of fun. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Look, I'm stoked to be hanging out with you all, and I'm pretty excited because I think we've got a good show today. And with that said, look, I think in about an hour of content, an hour stream, hanging out, because it's the evening for me, and it's been a long day. I gotta say, I tried to slam all of the meetings possible on Monday, so then I could have the rest of the week to actually focus. But it's call after meeting after another Zoom session, Google Meets, Google Hangouts, whatever, Slack huddle. And I went to go eat some food. I got dinner at the end of a long day. And I don't know why I did, because now it's like I've got the food coma. Now I'm sleepy and tired, but we got to do the show. We got to hang out for a little bit. And look, today we have an agenda. There's a plan. We have some activities, and I'm pretty excited because we have a special guest. So title is real. We are going to be chatting about some open source intelligence, some OSINT, and I'm super duper excited for it, especially learning from the best. But I got to cruise through a couple of announcements. First of all, is audio all good? I haven't even looked at chat. I have not even looked to make sure I'm actually live streaming. Looks like people are here. Cool. Super duper cool. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming to hang out with us. So, look, let's get to it. Let's dive in. I want to show you something cool, because some of you may or may not know that last month, October, myself and some other sweet team members have launched a whole new platform, a whole new venture called Just Hacking Training. So this is our attempt to put together a schoolhouse, education, free activities, free labs, free learning, and, just affordable courses and all that mix. There are 4 different ways that we're trying to package and bundle that out. And I really, really hope that some of you have gotten a chance to take a look at it. If you haven't yet, please do. Let me drop a link here for you. You can go track it down online at justhacking.com. Cool. Can I pin that in chat? Is there a way to do stuff? Yeah. Playing with Restream and going from their browser this time, because we have our special guest and I wanted to make sure that, hey, we got everything all good. But I hope that you get a chance to take a look at Just Hacking Training, where you could find some of that free or at least affordable education in cybersecurity. It's not all about offensive skills. It's not all about hacking in that, adversarial method. There are a whole lot of plans to do more and more of that, but I want to be able to help cover all the sweet stuff, all technical material, defense work, etc. And I'll touch on that in just a little bit. But as I mentioned, there are 4 different ways that you could join the party here. Courses and paths, as you would expect, typical courses, upskill challenges, hack-alongs, and we will be including a whole lot of capture the flag archives. So whenever I host NomCon CTF, or if you think way back when to VersaCon, way back in 2020, all the old challenges that we've built for years now, we literally have a library of 1,000 challenges. Want to make sure those are still accessible for you and you get a chance to play in a quick and easy environment where you can spin up any virtual machines that you might like and actually get a hand at the challenges and continue to get all that free learning. But I want to walk you through some of the options and some of the new stuff that we're bringing out, because I mentioned we launched this thing in October. The plan is to get maybe 1, 2, as many different new learning modules and exercises that we can out to you each month. So about 1 new course a month, the very start of the month, maybe the first week of the month, or around that time frame, alongside some of those hack-along activities, some upskill challenges. And I'm pretty stoked because this is the first time we're getting some of that new stuff out. So let me show you. If you want to drill down into this, I'm pretty excited because this is not all me. There's no way that it could be all me, because I'm trying to get YouTube stuff out and about. I'm trying to get that free education out for you already on YouTube, on demand and video. But I want to be able to spread the love, hey, spread the knowledge and let other folks have their time in the spotlight. And with that said, it means it's a whole team effort. It's not me anymore. So I got to make sure that this is valuable and worthwhile for them. And I got to make sure, hey, they're paid and compensated and actually have a whole lot of learning opportunity and their own growth and their own professional career and development. Even the people, hey, bringing the sweet stuff to you. So pretty stoked, pretty excited of all the sweet people that we're getting together with, and more to come. I'm very, very excited to be able to collaborate and have some sweet partnerships with cool people to keep getting that education out. Now, let me start with these upskill challenges, because these are the ones that I think have the easiest, like lowest barrier to entry. They're absolutely free. They're literally free. So you can go ahead and sign up for anyone that you might be interested in. And we have 4 new upskill challenges coming out today. I'm going to try and get some social posts out on LinkedIn and Twitter and do the whole, like whatever influencer crap to scream and shout about it and promote it. But I hope that you get a chance to take a look. We'll dive into those in just a sec. I will talk about the hack-alongs just as well. Some of you might remember from the old NetExec video that I had previously. That was a YouTube video where we wanted to include a whole lab environment for you to be able to play along, to hack along, literally, hence the name. So fingers crossed, we're going to get more of those out and about. They will always be paired with a video. And those are just a little bit beefier than our upskill challenges. Upskill challenges are meant to be like bite-sized, quick and easy, maybe only 10 to 30 minutes of student time, but without a virtual machine, it's just for your education and learning. Something small, super easy, and letting you get into the action. Hack-alongs are a little bit more to it. Capture the flag is in the way, but the courses are where we get to the really, really good stuff. Now, if I may, I'd love to tell you just how you can dig into this. So, the new upskill challenges that are available now are some Wi-Fi effort, learning a little bit more wireless techniques, some Visual Studio Code capability, really using a debugger, getting a chance to actually interact with the code that you write in there, and one that I'm super duper excited about, GraphQL. And this is the coolest thing because we get to collaborate and tag team with these sweet partners and other incredible people. A lot of the Wi-Fi ones coming out right now are from Ross Flynn. A lot of the GraphQL and API, a lot of the API hacking stuff is coming from Katie Paxton Fear. And some of you might know that's Insider PhD, who already has an incredible amount of education for API hacking and all the sweet stuff you can do with it. She's got something out for GraphQL, and Joe Helly. Joe, I'm so sorry, my friend. I can never tell if I'm pronouncing your name right. Is it Helly? Is it Hell? Hey, I just know when we went to Hack SpaceCon, we went to go see one of the rocket launchers close by that venue. And myself, Joe, we had Trash Puppy with us and Tiberius. And we had a long walk on the beach to go see the rocket launch. It was the most hysterical, randomly, not to say romantic, because that's not the right word, but just saying, a walk on the beach to go see a rocket launch, just wild and fun and hysterical. So I am ecstatic that Joe has come to hang out with us just as well. He's got some sweet stuff getting started with Visual Studio Code, but I want to show you how you can dive into these. So let me get to our GraphQL Upskill Challenge, give you a quick little, synopsis as to what the heck the thing is, make sure it's free, totally available for you. And it's short, it's simple. It's something, you can just grab and do at your leisure. Maybe knock it out at a lunch break. But if you clicked any of those buttons here, after you're learning about the sweet instructors, all the incredible Katie Paxton Fear, Joe, Ross Flynn, and all the others, clicking on the buttons, you can get to the platform where you get a quick synopsis of the contents, the material, table of contents there, and then click the button, free, enroll. That's it. Super duper easy. Let me say, upskill challenges do not have a lot to them because it is intentionally short, small, simple, bite-sized, 10 to 30 minutes of content. But if I click that button, enroll, you dive in. And this is pretty cool because not only are you going to work through all the material, but we can get some quizzes out and about after you roll through all the information, actually work through something to test your knowledge, actually get a knowledge check, actually be able to validate your learning, all the stuff that you're working through. Now, I know we're starting small. This was teeny weeny. This is all tiny because it's one of the upskill challenges. the more fun stuff comes with the hack-alongs. But let me show you some of the others real quick. I was mentioning the Wi-Fi basics that Ross has put out. Super cool. Same thing with the AirCrack NG he has out and about. And I know I was feeling a little bit old school. I was laughing with some good friends just a moment ago that's like, hey, everyone was hacking away with AirCrack NG in the olden days because it's cool. Because look, you're learning about a lot of that wireless hacking techniques. And anything, just the technology that is Wi-Fi. It's still a good thing to get some smarts on. VS Code, of course, did want to give some love to Joe and his incredible work, but let me show you the hack-alongs, because this is when we start to get the rubber meeting the road, if I may say. And let me get us back to, I'm teasing a little bit too much with some of these pictures here. The hack-alongs, as I mentioned, are always accompanied with a video, so you have something to follow along with. And oftentimes, these are in that name your price setup. Because I've told you repeatedly, in my opinion, for me, I want education to be free all the time. That's why YouTube videos are free. That's why the content is free. And I'm acknowledging growing a team of people. I have to make sure those people are well compensated. But to the best that we can, when we're wanting to get that great mission out and about, we'll do name your price. Now, hack-alongs, as I mentioned, we have NetExec, but our great friends over at Cyber5W, and I will say this is a collaboration, a cool partnership with Cyber5W. Ali had put together, ooh, I'm getting a sweet note from the voices in the back of my head. Sorry, I'm totally distracted. Some fella just let me know that we're gonna have some sweet code workshops and like live and more interactive content pretty soon in the VS Code one. Thank you so much. Sorry, I was totally caught off guard by that. But Ali has put out some fantastic stuff on intro to static analysis for malware and now dynamic analysis for malware. This is the one that is launching today, and you can go take a look. But huge shout out to Ali. And genuinely, it is a great partnership and collaboration with them. These ones do have a price tag to them, and I will admit, but again, working with other people, and I want to make sure they are having a great time. So look, if you were to dive in to the intro to dynamic analysis and Shadow Me number 2, this is a continuation of the static analysis. So taking a look at the lab overview, this is where you can get into a whole lab virtual machine. And I can show you some of the material here. We can go a little bit behind the scenes because I do want to bring that to your attention. You actually have a whole Flare VM, like the same virtual machine and environment that you're used to working with when you're doing some malware analysis, cooking up together a little Windows one. That I think is pretty sweet because you just click a button and the VM is already deployed and ready for you. So you don't have to prepare or work with the machine and have your own stuff set up if you don't already. It'll already be done for you. And you'll dive in to using a lot of the sysinternals tools, Procmon, Process Explorer, running malware, evading anti-malware, like anti-debugging techniques, seeing and getting some of that quick synopsis of dynamic analysis. Well, let me show you, though. I can literally pull it up. That's the best part. I think bringing me here. Yeah. Okay. You can still see. All is well. Shadow Me number 1 was static analysis. Shadow Me number 2 is dynamic analysis. And as I mentioned, you've got a video to work all alongside it. But take a look. Get into lab virtual machines. You've got a Flare VM already ready for you. And this is the coolest thing. You can just kick it off right here, or in the Systems tab over on the left, you just click Launch, and then the thing goes. That's it. That's as easy as you need to get into your virtual machine. Love it. Also includes some extra mile activities and exercises, so I hope that's good, fun stuff for you. Now, I, if I may say, am extremely excited to talk about one of the new, mega packages of Sweet Education, and it's coming from a great friend of mine, because I work with him, literally work with him day to day. Some folks might be familiar with the Constructing Defense training. And this is put together by Anton of Rutsky, but this is an incredible like mega lab, mega environment to learn more of that blue team work. I told you it's not all hacking, like offensive adversarial pen testing work. So I want to get some of that sweet blue team defense, digital forensics, incident response, maybe detection engineering coming soon. Constructing defense is literally 3 courses combined into 1. And these are when we say, look, we've been growing as the amount of education you would get. Our upskill challenges were small, simple, short, 10 to 30 minutes. Hackalongs were maybe 2 hours, accompanied with a video. Courses, we still want this to be approachable. We still want this to be something you can consume and not be like, oh, holy cow, it's 200 hours of video material or whatever. That's, I know, overwhelming. And I know when someone will just buy a training or buy a course, when it's something on demand like this, and I know, just being a realist here, people rarely finish it. They just don't. Like, the time gets away from them or whatever, or it just doesn't come to life because, hey, it's another thing we add to the shelf and it just sits there. So courses are 10 hours. Keeping it small, keeping it simple, but still hopefully keeping your attention span in the sweet spot. But constructing defense is massive because it is literally 3 courses put together, and it's about blue team stuff. Web-based lab that you can get into, including an Active Directory environment, and then you finally get into Linux and Kubernetes, and cloud work, cloud material with AWS and Azure, and even getting some purple team action. So you literally have an environment already set up for you that's staged with a SIEM solution, logging, monitoring, auditing, and all that stuff. This super cool image. Can I like blow that up? Let me open a new tab. Yeah, you get a whole range. Just one click ready to deploy, as I showed you earlier, and you get to dig into all that fun stuff. Sysmon, Windows Active Directory, you can throw attacks and it's all ready for you, and Kubernetes telemetry, sweet, sweet stuff. So look, with that said, I know price tags. I know price tags. I know dollar signs. I know they're not our friends, but it's 3 courses all together. And Anton's just an incredible fellow. He's just the best. Love him to death. So please, 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 please do give some love to constructing defense. And you know what? Let me show you that. Constructing defense, as I told you, is a path filled with 3 different courses. So the material is ginormous, but I told you, you got a SIEM solution, you've got Kubernetes, you've got an Active Directory structure, you've got credential access, lateral movement, discovering all these techniques, writing some rules, analyzing, investigating this with Kubernetes, cloud, AWS, and Azure. Super duper, humongous, awesome, incredible material. So I hope you do tune in. And of course, it's all got that sweet videos. So you got plenty to learn from, and he'll have a whole lot of fun. With that all said, my goodness, I feel like I've been talking forever. So tell me to shut up. Like, someone tell me to shut up. Taking a look at chat real quick. How things going? How's the vibe right now? Dude, have I had this link up the entire time? I told you. Scuffed. Keeping it genuine. But I do have a lifeline here. I have someone to kind of phone a friend with here because some of you might have been tracking. This whole thing is about OSINT, right? This whole premise here was open source intelligence. So the courses and paths, as I mentioned, now do have, just as I was talking about constructing defense, Mishal Khan, the absolute incredible expert in learning a whole lot of this OSINT, has his course out and about, beginner level OSINT. And it's a breeze. It is name your price. So you don't even have to pay. They do have an incredible keynote speaker. Mishal is phenomenal. He is everywhere. He's always speaking. He's always doing great stuff. But he's got videos all throughout the course. And I do have him here waiting in the background. I hope you don't mind, my friend, waiting to call him up. But I am stoked for him to showcase a couple demos. I'm stoked for him to tell me a little bit more about what he has built for this material and what he has still in the cooker, because I believe there's more to come. We're going to be keeping not just that beginner level OSINT, but get to some more of the intermediate and advanced things. So with that out of the way, let me kill the music here. And I'd love to hear from Michelle. Are you still with me, my friend? I can bring you in if you're ready for it. Totally give me that sweet thumbs up. Heck yeah. All right. Michelle, how are you? How is life?
Hey, John. Thanks for having me. Life is great. Enjoying it.
Thank you so much for being willing to join the party here and chat and hang out with us for a little bit. I am super duper excited for all that education that you're bringing to the table. But I know you're a busy fella. I don't know how you keep up with it all. What are you doing these days? So you got talks, you got travel. What's on in your world?
Yeah, my world is a pretty busy world right now, but it's fun. I enjoy doing everything. So that's why I have my hand in different places. So yeah, a lot of consulting work happening with my own business. I went solo a couple of months ago, so that's keeping me quite busy. Then there's trainings with you. That takes a good chunk of my week, video editing, production, and all of that. That's pretty time consuming, but fun. I'm all about education, just like yourself. So I'm doing a lot of trainings all over the US, either paid or free, mixture of talks as well. So every couple of weeks I'm flying out somewhere. It's fun. I mean, I'll tell you, I will not complain on this lifestyle at all. It's temporary. I like it. I'm, immersing myself into it, and yeah, I enjoy it.
Well, I could sing your praises time and time again. I don't know if you can color the picture any more about who you are, what you're doing these days. I know you said, look, you've got your own business, and what is that all about? I'm still thinking that OSINT, OPSEC, that's your whole vibe, but tell me more.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, my background is very technical. I've been doing cybersecurity for a good part of 20 years. Even before it was called cyber, I was doing ethical hacking or unethical hacking, OSINT essentially, but always for good, always helping people out, finding stalkers or finding information or helping people who've been hacked or been part of a scam. That's how I kind of started this journey. I was on the network side throughout, worked for companies like Cisco and stuff, and did a lot on the networking piece, and eventually made a career out of pen testing, GRC assessments, and a lot of product implementations and stuff. So now I take that knowledge on two fronts: consulting as a virtual CISO, and also on the implementation side, but more on the OSINT investigations. So I do due diligence for clients or OSINT work in terms of corporate level investigations. I also do personal investigations on individuals, hunting for predators, stalkers, stuff like that. That keeps me quite busy. But also, as you mentioned, OPSEC, which is kind of the inverse of OSINT. Since I know very well how to find things, people, items, organizations, you name it, I also know how to hide it pretty well. And this field is pretty useful in a number of ways. So OPSEC for security professionals is extremely important. I don't see that much happening right now. People just start doing investigations or pen testing without really covering their tracks. Also for individuals, OPSEC is very, very important to stop all those scams, all those hackers doing basic lookups on yourself and finding information on you. Also for journalists and any researcher for that matter, OPSEC is extremely important. So I kind of do both sides of it and kind of give that complete picture on, hey, this is a huge, huge subset of cybersecurity, and I want to educate the masses, everyone who's listening, on both of these topics.
Well, hey, I think it's an incredible mission. And I know when we've spoken before, like you've been telling me some of the stories for some of the investigations that you do and what you can talk about. But it's wild. Like there is a real, genuine, legitimate, like stopping of crime in the work that you do. And I feel like that's just phenomenal because it moves the needle and makes a real difference in the real world. I think when I don't know, I'm sitting behind a keyboard doing cheesy, CTF vulnerability shenanigans. It's in a digital world and contained in that bubble, but for the real world, open source intelligence, OPSEC, all this stuff matters, like to the 10th degree. So, hey, hats off, kudos, props to you for all the incredible stuff you do.
Thank you.
Can you tell me a little bit about what you've got cooking in your beginner OSINT course? And then if you're willing, maybe a little teaser for what's to come.
Sure. No, absolutely. OSINT is a huge topic, as I said before. So that's why I kind of broke it up into multiple parts. So hopefully this is going to be a 3-part series. And that's how I kind of deconstruct OSINT into a beginner level series, a beginner level course. And that's the one that's live right now. It's called Beginner Level OSINT. I hope to make the next part of the series, which will be more intermediate level. We'll call it next. What are we calling it? Not next level OSINT. Level up OSINT. So it's leveling up your skills. And then there's a course I currently teach at Wild West Hacking Fest and a couple of other places, which is called Next Level OSINT. And that's the really advanced skill sets, a lot of hacker level techniques that I've developed over the years on using stuff like Kali Linux or scripts or very creative ways on digging up information. But it's not for everyone. It does require a level of baseline knowledge. And that's where I've kind of started now with beginner level OSINT. So a lot to come, and bundle that with an OPSEC for security professionals course that's in the making as we speak, and it should be out any day.
Something I'm super excited for, and I'm just extremely thankful and just super duper grateful for you being willing to join the party and share some more of this great education and get the training out and about. So seriously, thank you.
Pleasure's mine.
Well, I don't know. I think there might be a couple questions coming through in chat. And I did see one that I think was a super good question. How do you get that job? Like what you do, I know is a little bit strange, unspoken, that doesn't fit in a box or an envelope, but like, how do you do what you do? How do you make that a career?
Great question, because for many years, people have asked me, they're like, are there jobs in OSINT, or is that a requirement, or just a nice to have, or a skill set, or is it just, do you do it for fun? All of the above. The OSINT, I believe, has a place in almost every technical job right now. Whether you're a pen tester, you're going to use OSINT for your social engineering skills to craft a better phishing engagement or vishing engagement. The more you know about your target, the better you are. So pen testing has a huge demand for OSINT skills. Journalism, you can't do good journalism, investigative journalism at least, if you're not good at OSINT. They may call it something different, research or reconnaissance, but these are the skills of OSINT that you use. In any sort of other research, you're looking up stuff on the internet, you're doing scientific research, and all you're using is Google. Well, you're limiting yourself. You could be doing it much faster, much better, saving a lot of time if you know a lot of OSINT skills. Same thing, network-based stuff or Wi-Fi-based reconnaissance. So OSINT now has so many different fields that either it can enhance your current job or it can be used as a job itself. For example, for investigators, there's digital investigators or online investigators, which is 100% OSINT stuff. And they have a lot of jobs. So this could be threat hunting, uses OSINT. It could be, police officers, law enforcement will have jobs dedicated for that. I've seen jobs out there which are journalism or marketing-based jobs that use only OSINT, because marketing folks also have to do comparative studies between what their competition is doing. They have to research, dig up dirt maybe or something else on their competition, do it better. So it can be a field on its own. It's still a niche area, but we're starting to see a lot more jobs on the market that advertise as OSINT something, junior OSINT investigator or senior OSINT whatever practitioner. So yeah, all of that.
Cool. I saw one more that I think would be interesting if you're willing to chat about it. But you mentioned a virtual CISO role. Is that right?
Uh-huh.
What is that? What shape does that take? How do you actively and actually do that? I see someone asking, hey, what is that phantom CISO? Which I think I don't know, virtual CISO, phantom, maybe we can kind of blur those lines.
Sure.
But what is that?
So yeah, I've been doing a lot of different jobs in cybersecurity in the past, and a lot of the times companies ask for advice, very high-level strategic guidelines and guidances based on assessments and risk and all of that GRC stuff. So I've been consulting a lot to companies, and essentially I've been playing the role of a CISO for companies, giving them direction, giving them a priority checklist of things to do, creating a roadmap. This is what a CISO does in large organizations. But for mid-sized organizations, there's a gap and there's no CISO role there. So this is where, a lot of us folks in cybersecurity play that role and fill that gap, but we're not given the title of a CISO. We have the job role of a CISO, but not the title, not the authority, not the budget, no power. I call that position a phantom CISO. You're not a true CISO, you're a phantom CISO without, all the authority and power that's needed to do the job. And that's what kind of this book is for. It's how to become a great cybersecurity leader, climbing up the ladders and doing a gap analysis on yourself. Why aren't you a great cybersecurity leader? You may lack some technical know-how or some soft skills like communication skills. So it kind of does a gap analysis, gives you a whole bunch of different things that you should have skill sets to be an effective cybersecurity leader. So that's a phantom CISO. A virtual CISO is a fractional CISO. It's for the mid-sized companies that can't afford a CISO because they may charge $350,000, $400,000 in salary. Yeah, mid-sized companies can't afford that. So then you have a part-time CISO or a fractional CISO or a virtual CISO, many names for it. But that's what a vCISO essentially is. They give you maybe a couple of hours in a week or a couple of hours in a month to give you some strategic guidance, maybe do a couple of assessments, give you direction. And then now you have strategy, you can always deploy tactics in terms of what's the right MFA solution, the right firewall to put in, or email security or DNS security. And a whole team is required to do that. But it's essentially you come to a maturity level in your career in cybersecurity where you can start giving advice on the business itself and then start implementing and making it worth it. So, long-winded answer to what a VCISO is, but that's really what it is.
Nothing wrong with that. Thank you so much. I mean, the thorough answer is really what we're all hoping for. I think this is awesome. There are a lot of really cool questions coming in, and I think some that might be considered an entree, but we should have a little bit of an appetizer beforehand. If you're ready for it, would you, I don't know, be willing to do some show and tell? Do you have any sweet tricks up your sleeve? Anything we could see?
Absolutely. Let me share my screen. I wanted to show you the audience here some of the things that are entailed in OSINT, or at least advanced OSINT. So let me see if I can find the screen share here. All right.
Cool. Mind if I bring you up right now? You're all good?
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
And then my worst horrible pet peeve, not to say pet peeve, but my complex. Would you be willing to zoom in and make your screen font and text ginormous and obnoxious?
There we go.
You're the best. Thank you so much.
All right. I'll be adjusting it as I go along. And if it's too tiny, just let me know.
You're perfect. Thank you.
So a lot of people start off OSINT with Google, and there's nothing wrong with that. And what I teach in beginner level OSINT is how to Google right, how to Google with things like the site : operator. If you're trying to look up for results on, let's say, Instagram, this is how you should be looking it up using more complex site operators like this. And then if you're looking for, let's say, a flower on Instagram, if you actually go to Instagram, you can't search very well over there. You need to sign in, create a fake account, a sock puppet account and stuff, but there are ways around it. So searches like this, on the fly are way, way faster than actually going through the cycles of logging in and using your real account or a burner account and doing stuff like that. So tricks like this is what I would teach on, a beginner level type of class in just polishing some of the basic search strategies even. And then, we advance on to skills like the network side of OSINT. Let's say if you're doing network-based stuff or DNS level OSINT, you will encounter websites and people will do whois lookups. And the whole goal of OSINT is to find more and more information from a starting point. So let's say I'm looking up, marvel.com on who owns this website. Where is it registered?
Do you mind zooming in super quick? I'm sorry.
Oh, yes. There we go.
I told you I'm going to be the worst. I'm going to be so annoying.
Please do. I have a pretty big monitor here, so everything looks fine to me. But I realize, it's tiny somewhere else. So stuff like marvel.com, if that's your target and you're doing reconnaissance here for, let's say, a pen test or whatever, Usually a whois lookup will tell you current information, but my goal is not just to get the current information, like, all right, Disney owns this domain today with some email addresses, some phone numbers, but a site like hooksy.com or whoxy.com, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's Hooksy now, will give you historical information. Not a lot of sites will, but if you go all the way down, it says who owned marvel.com in the past. In 2012, Marvel Characters owned it. 2015, others. Then Disney owned it in 2019. So you see change of ownership in the past, and then new emails pop up, new phone numbers, new information. So I teach people how to go beyond just the basics. Don't just do a whois lookup, do a historical whois lookup, and you'll get a little bit further. And the whole goal in OSINT is how much further, how much deeper can I dive with every single piece of basic information. I call it seed information. So you start off with either a phone number, a name, a username, or an email address. That's all seed information. So how far can we get with one piece of seed information? Pretty far if you know a lot of the different techniques involved. The most common ones we see are people search websites. People start with something like fastpeoplesearch.com, or there's a whole bunch of others, spokeo.com. And all the information in this is free. And you can start with either name, phone number, address. So here's what I will do. I will actually do this another way. A lot of the times when I start my searches, I go straight to breaches. That's a more advanced way of doing it, but since I have a lot of tricks up my sleeve, I'll go straight into a breach. So for the sake of this example, I'm just going to pick a target that I know has breached information in it. My favorite breach is the Park Mobile data breach. And for those of you who may not be familiar with Park Mobile was an app used to park your car. And you pay for the parking using that Park Mobile app. You put in basic information, your car plate number, credit card number, name, phone number, whatever. And that app got breached. So I have that breach in my hard drive here. I downloaded it. It was 5 gigs. And so I go under my breaches and I search for something. So the way I search is I do a rip grep. So instead of just a grep is for text-based searches for a really large file. Rip grep or RG is grep on steroids. So that's a tool I use, and you'll see how fast this searches. So let's say my sample search term is The Rock, and I'm searching in this file called Park Mobile. It's a CSV file. It's 5 gigs. There's no way I can even open this file in a text editor on my computer. It's going to take 5 minutes. So I press enter, and you see immediately a lot of entries with just the name The Rock. And let it stop. Let's see how much I can get here. So there's millions of entries here, and it's searching quite a few of these. And this is a raw data breach search. So it stopped here. And if I double click on any one of these, you see this is one entry in a data breach. And it has a phone number, it has a username or email address. And the last entry here is the plate number of the vehicle. So let's pick on a person here. So welcome to therock@gmail.com. I'll copy this, and I can see the person's name, Brian Price, it says. So now I have seed information. Let's say this is what I had starting off with. I kind of cheated and went the other way around, but let's say this is my seed information. I can now put this in a people search website. Now you need to know which sites have what. So this one, fastpeoplesearch.com, doesn't have an email address field. All right, I know another website that does. Cyber Background Checks. Let me blow this up a little bit. Cyber Background Checks has an email field. And so I put in this email address here and I search. And let's see what I can find behind this email address. I did find, that same guy, Brian Price, information is there. So I went from an email now to pretty much everything else. And I do the same thing. So then I pivot off to other sources like, have I been pwned? I would actually start mostly here. If I had an email address, I would go here, click on, have I been pwned? Yes, this person has been in a breach. and I see, oh, there's LinkedIn accounts associated with this email address. So now that tells me I should go in LinkedIn and search for this person, their name. They'll definitely be there because they were part of a breach. And I can see stuff about this person, and I'm not necessarily interested in passwords or a lot of other things in the breach. A lot of the breaches may not have anything. It actually shows you what the breach had, but it does give me an idea about what that person is up to. So I can see they stayed in an MGM resort because they were in that breach. So they've been to Vegas most likely. They've been in the AT&T breach, and we all know the AT&T breach had social security numbers. Not all, but a lot of people's social security numbers were in there. National public data breach. There's more data about this person. There are more sensitive data. So I know data exists. I just need to kind of find it. And there we go. The Park Mobile breach is also part of this, which we actually just searched through. And that breach has license plate numbers in it. If you see like stuff for like House, all right, they're part of the House breach, or you see some other stuff like they were part of a social media profile that's pretty old, you can tell the age of the person and say, oh, this website was breached in maybe 2010 or something. All right, this person had an account then, so they can't be too young. They must be in their 30s or 40s or whatnot. So there's a lot of deductions you can make. And this is where the OSINT part, open source intelligence, the intelligence part comes into play. So I'm not just looking up for random pieces of information. I'm tying it to some piece of intelligence. And I can basically take this email address. So we found a plate number. I can go to a thing like O'ReillyAuto.com. And this is one of the advanced techniques I teach in next level OSINT. I can say on O'ReillyAuto.com, put in a plate number. So what was that guy's plate number? Welcome to the Rock. This was his plate number, either this or this with the S. All right, let's put this plate number in here. And what state was this person in? New York. So let's go back here and select New York. And Y right here, and click search. And it shows me the vehicle, 2022 Volvo XC90. So I went from an email to a plate number, and then from a plate and resolved it to this. This is basically abusing the API of O'Reilly Autos. They have an API in the backend that's resolving the plate number to the actual vehicle, and I'm basically using that to get more information about my target. And as I do this, you'll realize that there's a lot of information. Like, I didn't know you could do this. I'm like, yeah, this is not really made to look up vehicles. This website is not made for OSINT, but hey, I'm gonna use everything I can.
That is wild. I've never seen that. I've never seen going to get the car. Like, oh, the vehicle details. I wonder how much more could you track down the VIN? Could you
Oh yeah, absolutely. So there's O'Reilly Autos actually has an API as well. So it's called API dot what is it, O'Reilly or.
I just pulled that all off the cuff. Like, I was shooting from the hip, and you got it at the ready.
Yeah, if I can spell O'Reilly Autos, here it is. So they have a little API. So this is how it looks like. So I put in a plate. Yeah. So you probably can't see the top bar. I can't zoom into the top bar.
That's all right. No worries.
But it says O'ReillyAutos.com/vehicle/plate/hacker/CA/false. So I put in a California plate number called hacker, and it showed me a lot of information. 2007 GMC Sierra, unfortunately. So that vehicle has that plate number. And oftentimes it'll give me a VIN number if it's part of this. Sometimes it won't. But hey, there's plenty of other tools I can go in and put in the plate. This was just one of many that I showed. So if O'Reilly Autos is down tomorrow, or they are watching this webcast and they're like, we shouldn't keep this open and we should put it behind a paywall or something, there's 5 other tools I have in my tool belt that'll do exactly the same thing. So it's just discovering those things and abusing the functionality of a website. I mean, isn't this the hacker mentality? Trying to see what else can I do from this?
That is awesome. And may I ask, because I know you mentioned, hey, I've got 5 other tools in my toolbox. Like there's more ammo in the arsenal. If one drops, we've got more to use and there's redundancy. I know there are a lot of incredible OSINT tools, and I know you can stockpile and there's more to go through. Uh, is is that part of the learning experience? Is it just, hey, collecting and adding to your treasure trove of tools? And I know there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that, but I think it's fun. I feel like it's a journey, and I'm collecting Pokemon of like, oh, this is cool. Let me add this and keep using it as part of the playbook.
That's exactly what I do. So if you look at my what do you call bookmarks menu here, I have OSINT bookmarks, and it's tiny. You can't see, and I can't really zoom in to the bookmark section. But this is what I constantly do. I found one about vehicles, so I'll put this under my vehicle section in my bookmarks, or car section. I have a lot of other things, like Carvana does the same thing. You're looking up for cars, or you want to sell your car, you go in Carvana, put in your license plate number, and it'll actually give you your VIN number just to verify. So they're paying for these APIs. We're not. We're just using it for OSINT. So anytime I find something cool like this, I put it in my bookmarks, arrange it properly, and I use it next time. And this way, I always have more than one resource to rely on, and my entire workflow is not dependent on like one website or 2 websites. So it's a smart thing to do, to have redundancy.
Yeah, if I may say, I like my go-to, and I'm not super smart in the OSINT world, I'll be the first to admit. So I'm grateful to be able to lean on you here. But I like, and I've found OSINT.industries. I think that's a super duper cool one. But it's like, wait, I'm a one-trick pony. That's the only thing I know to go to.
And also, so the thing about websites like that is, if it's a paid tool, I kind of stay away from it. Everything I do and I teach is free, 100% free tools. I never use any paid product for OSINT investigations. And there's a couple of reasons for that. The first reason is, today it's maybe $5 or whatever a month, or per lookup. Tomorrow they may jack up the price to 50. And I'm like, you know what, it doesn't suit my budget, and an entire resource is now gone, and I depended on it. Other thing is, it may go down tomorrow. If Have I Been Pwned goes down, I have breachdirectory.com, breachdirectory.org, intelx.io. They're all free, and I can do the exact same thing over there. So it's good to have redundancy. Second thing is, an important thing, if it's a paid resource, even if it's $5 or something, a lot of the investigations I do go in a report, and law enforcement has to repeat that. It needs to be repeatable. They'll look at this thing and say, oh, where'd you get the plate number from? Oh, it's Carvana.com, but I need to pay $5 for the lookup. Or, perfect example, Carfax.com. I'll get where they changed their oil last through Carfax.com. But Carfax charges you for this stuff. So I'm like, if I give this to law enforcement and they click on the link, they're like, we're not paying the $5 to get this information. And now that can't be used in the investigation, can't be recreated. Even if it's a client, it's a pen test, and I'm like, oh, we found this information here. They can't really verify. My screenshots are there and stuff, but still it needs to be reproduced by someone else doing the same investigation. So I steer away from it. Instead, what I do is, resources like that, OSINT Industries and quite a few others, I try to look for the same information in other ways. I'm like, what API are they using or abusing to get the same results? I'll try to do the same. It'll take me time, but I'll discover it eventually. I'm like, all right, this is the source of the information. They're just packaging it up in a nice GUI interface and a nice web searchable interface. And that's what they're charging for, and rightfully so. So I'll try to get the same information through alternate means. And that's kind of my go-to for all OSINT information.
That's a good mentality to have, though. I see in the chat, people are saying, hey, that's super smart, because if there's whatever financial need or dependency in the mix, then that's problematic in some use cases. But yeah. Did I interrupt, though? I'm sorry. Was there still more to your fireworks show?
Yeah. a few other things. So these are the basic things that a lot of people in OSINT do. People search. This falls under the category of, people search websites, or OSINT for people, but there's also a lot of other things in OSINT. So, for example, I use government data, and here's where it kind of gets a little, gray area and stuff. But I'll mention it anyways, because this is what people are actually doing. So stuff like voter record information. it's voting season right now and stuff.
Would you mind zooming in if we end up dancing
sure.
with this? This
So
one's
stuff. So every state will have their own voter registry website where you can look up your own voting records. And in this case, for Florida's voter information lookup, I just Google name a state and Google voter information lookup or search voter registry or whatever. So Florida's looks like this. And I give this as an example because it's really easy. So let's say all I had was my person of interest and their name. So let's say that person of interest was Dwayne Johnson. So I know the full name, and I pick on him because he's a well-known person. I'm not really doxing anyone here. So let's say I pick, Dwayne and last name Johnson, and I need a date of birth. So for someone like him, I just put DOB, not V, and his date of birth pops up, May 2nd, 1972. So let's do May 2nd, 1972. All right, got the right one. And agree, submit. And as a result, it gives me his home address or whatever address is registered there. So from a technical perspective, look at it this way. This is like a math problem to me. I have the name, I have the first name, last name, and I don't have the address. What do I need for that? Well, in the form, I needed a date of birth to get to that. So, I start with 4 or 5 pieces of information. I get a 6th one after I do this. So that's kind of my goal here, is not to dox a person or get some sensitive information, but kind of verify information. Like, yeah, this is a government record. It's been verified through the government using an ID of some sort. So I can actually validate this information versus in a site like this, cyberbackgroundchecks.com. Sure, I get a lot of info on people, but is this really validated or is this fake information? Because I can insert a lot of nonsense in here. I've done it for myself, so I know it can be done. But things like voter records or PPP loans, when the whole thing happened a few years ago, pandemic and stuff, there were PPP loans. Well, every single PPP loan amount was public. So you can put in a person's name or their company name and see how much they got loaned for and which bank gave them. So good information through government entities. So I use this a lot. With the same concept, I actually go in speeding records or violations that they may have in the county, and I extract more information. So I start with the person's name, date of birth, but then I end up with, in a violation, you may have, how much speed they were going, what car they were in. The report will have a lot of sensitive information in it. So I use government records for that. And it's allowed in OSINT, kind of. I asked law enforcement this once, and law enforcement is actually limited to these techniques. So 2 of the techniques I just used, a lot of law enforcement can't do, like public data like this, government data. If it's out of their jurisdiction, they can't really query it. They need permission to ask the other jurisdiction for it. I don't. And so they're kind of limited to stuff like this.
Wow.
Also breaches. The whole breach thing I did here,
right.
They can't do this because it's considered stolen data. I'm like, well, what if I, get you the same information through other means? So I got an email from there, and what if I put the email in a public website like this and then get you other stuff? It's like, yeah, that's fine. So we as OSINT professionals actually have a lot of shortcuts, and we can do a lot more things than law enforcement can. Like the plate lookup, I can look up plates faster than law enforcement can using this technique. And I've actually helped a lot of hit and run cases. I'm like, oh, hit and run, you got a partial plate number. I'm like, oh, it was in this state, it must be this. And this is where the hacker skills come in. I use Burp Suite or some other tools to kind of automate that. I'm like, I know the plate number, but I don't know the state. So there's 50 states. How do I do it 50 times? Well, Burp Suite can do it 50 times in 50 seconds. So, those type of little tricks I have up my sleeve. And then lastly, I'll mention one more thing on APIs. The entire field of APIs is huge, and very simple things. And this is what programming kind of taught me. Things like GoFish. We all use this for phishing campaigns. And if you actually look at the repo within GoFish, you'll see, actual code and everything and code changes. But what I don't see is email addresses of who pushed this code. if you do a lot of Git programming and encoding and stuff, you'll know through the command line, I can actually go to the hashes of this and see who actually pushed the code. The author name will be visible there, but it's not on the web version. So I'm like, I know it exists. I've seen it before, but how do I get to it in a fast way? Well, there's something called api.github.com/repos, and then you put the name Gofish, and then the repo name Gofish, and then commits, and you get this whole bunch of, let me expand all and zoom in a little
if
bit.
you get a chance to zoom, yeah, perfect.
There we go. So you get this in return, and this is their API. Now I got the email address of the last person who pushed code out. I couldn't see that in the web version, but through the API I can. So I'm like, cool, if I can see all of this in the API, I want to extract just the email address of all the commits. So I came up with this little query string here. It's a curl command. So curl, and I'm going through the same thing, but I'm just grepping out the email addresses from it. And when I press enter, it just gives me a neat little output of emails. So I know, who pushed it out. Personal Gmail addresses are there. Some GitHub masked addresses are there, which should be best practice from a privacy perspective. You can actually hide your email address in commits, but a lot of people don't. So I have a lot of personal email addresses in a public repo like Gofish. So I use this if I know a criminal or someone, a person of interest, has a repo, and I've been in cases where my adversary or my person of interest was very tech savvy and they actually had GitHub repos. I actually extracted their personal email address from that repo, which helped me advance my investigation. So little tricks like this become pretty useful at times. So there's plenty more. And as you can see, if I continue, it will take me 20, 50 hours. And I actually have a 16-hour course on just the advanced side of stuff, not even the basics. So I'll stop
I'm
there.
so excited. I'm just so excited for that to come to life. I know, look, we were scratching the surface at the very start with that Google dorking and using some of those search filters. And I know those are the fundamentals, and maybe some folks will just, it's Google. It's everyone's knee-jerk reaction for searching. But I think it's awesome to lay the foundation, even though that's just the tip of the iceberg. But seeing you pivot from like an email address to a license plate to a car and potential VIN was bonkers. So that's awesome, and I'm just ecstatic to see some more of the advanced techniques when they come together.
Thanks. Yeah, plenty more to come.
If I may, I know, because when you get into the breach data, when you get into leaked data sets, and what could very well be person's credentials on some other website or third-party service that was compromised, I think I like to have a lot of conversations when we talk about those, because there's a weird balancing act in my mind where I know research firms and even just pen testing or shops that do offensive security testing will literally and intentionally collect and harvest and try to capture and archive as many breaches as humanly possible so that they can do it for their own testing, for their own pen tests and the work that they do. And I always get a little bit squeamish about that because it's weird, right? But then I realize, like, that's exactly what an actual cyber criminal or threat actor or adversary may very well be doing. Like, they're going to be looking for those dumps and trying to find them off of, the dark web, some Telegram breach forums, whatever. But that is still a treasure trove of information. And just as you showcased here, you swing from one breadcrumb and one puzzle piece and one piece of information to the other. So cool.
Yeah, and it's important to have all these resources. It's basically, I give the example of building a house. You can't just build a house with one hammer and 5 screwdrivers, and there's 50 types of screws if you ever walk into Home Depot. And you're like, man, there's a lot of options, and you must have all the tools and then start building. Same thing with OSINT. If you're just limited to 10 tools or 50 resources, well, I got news for you. There's 500 resources. And as long as you know that something exists, you have a lot of confidence. So anytime someone gives me a task in OSINT, they're like, hey, can you find this? And we've contacted law enforcement, or we've done our own OSINT research and we can't find it. And I listen to them. I'm like, what information do you have? I have a VIN number, or I have an email address, or I have a phone number, or maybe I don't have a complete name or whatever. I'm like, cool, it'll be done. like, how can you be so confident? I'm like, because I know there's a lot of resources out there. If I can't find it, it means A, I didn't spend enough time, or I just maybe don't have the skill set. Let me ask someone who does. So the answer is always out there. So never give up. It's just knowing that there's so much information. Maybe it's in a breach. I see it in a breach. Have I been pwned? Has it? But I'm not interested in the password. It says it may have a home address. So guess what? I'm going to go look for the breach. It may take me some time, but I know that breach has that little piece of information that I was looking for. So yes, I collect breaches for the purposes of OSINT, not for the purposes of anything else. Adversaries collect it for obviously abusing that information. Others may harvest it to sell it or for marketing purposes or to monetize it and whatever. I strictly use it for OSINT stuff because a lot of the times I find that one little clue that was missing from people search websites, and I still consider it public record because anytime I'm looking for something, a breach, I'll find it eventually. I just need to know where to look for.
Well, goodness. It's just so cool. I know we're at the top of the hour, my friend, and I do want to be cognizant of your time. Do you have to run, or could you spare a couple minutes in case there are any other sweet question and answer AMA things that just pop up?
I'll stick around. Yeah.
You got a little bit?
Sure.
I don't think we'll go too much longer because I know, hey, it is late for just about everybody. But I'd love to ask for the folks listening in, for the audience here, look, what is so cool about OSINT that is maybe something that's attractive to you? Like open source intelligence, I know maybe it's the tool, maybe it's the resource, maybe it's some of the scripting or code automations that you've put together. But what are the things that you find fascinating there? And what are the more things that you want to learn? Like seeing those advanced techniques is just blowing my mind, as you can tell. But I am stoked for what would be, I know your level up OSINT is coming soon, and that will be stage 2, the next phase. That's very soon and imminent. But the beginner level OSINT, some of the stuff to at least get the ball rolling, you do have out and available now with sweet videos for each and every section. But with that, I will shut up again and take a look at what might be going on in chat. But folks can track this down. And if you wanted to learn a little bit more from Mishal, justhacking.com. And I'm just so grateful for all his support and joining the party with us there. Take a look. A lot of fun stuff. All right. What was the tool used after Google dorking?
I think it was hooksy.com.
Oh, yes.
Whoxy.com.
And that is more specifically for Whois records, right?
Yeah, it's for historical Whois records. Ooh. It'll give you Whois information, but at the bottom, it'll give you who owned it in the past.
Do you ever use crt.sh? Am I thinking of the right thing?
Yeah. That's good for certificates.
Yeah.
That's part of my bookmarks for OSINT as well, because a lot of the times the same cert will be used on multiple websites, or that cert will have subdomains in it. And instead of doing subdomain research, just look at the cert, and it may have multiple subdomains, like subject alternate names. That's what I'm really looking for in that website. It's
starting to sound like your bookmarks folder is just the crown jewel that everyone needs at this point. Like the collection of tools and resources.
It is, but you also need to know how to use it. So in my advanced next level OSINT course, where I go through all of this stuff in 16 hours, I actually provide all the students with my bookmarks first, like a day or two before. And I say, this is not what the course is about. It's all these tools, but again, like building a house, you can't build a house with the tools. You need to learn how to use them, when to use them. And there's a lot of redundancy in those tools as well. And I show them that here's how I would use them versus, here's a bunch of tools, go ahead and do OSINT. You can't do OSINT like that. So the value that people really get out of that course, that live course interactive, is they see me how I do it. So I'm like, hopefully, after you watch me do some live investigations and we hunt for like predators and stuff. I actually Google America's Most Wanted list or people with a bounty on their head, $3,000-4,000 bounties, and I'm like, let's pick this predator and let's do OSINT on this person as target practice. And they see me how I do it, and the number one feedback I get is like, we knew a lot of these tools and techniques, but you do it so fast. You do something in 1 hour what would take us maybe 10 hours to accomplish. And I'm like, yeah, that's the value I want to show you on how I do it and how I don't go into rabbit holes, how I don't open 50, 500 tabs and then just get lost. No, I have a method to the madness.
Very, very cool. Let's see. I did see one question. Do you use Maltego? Or do you use any sort of visualization tools or stuff to, I don't know, even keep your own mind straight and situated when you're putting together an investigation? Do you use any
Absolutely.
other? Yeah.
I use mind maps heavily. So mind maps is part of the course as well. I'll add that. And I used to use Xmind before as a tool, but now I have used Obsidian. So Obsidian has a canvas feature, and I was using Obsidian anyways for notes and stuff. So I'm like, let's try this canvas feature. And in the canvas feature, you can do pretty basic and pretty good large mind maps. So that's my go-to mind mapping tool now. And I use that. I don't use Maltego. I used to use it, 15 plus years ago when I was in the network field. And Maltego is great for network reconnaissance, but I don't do a lot of network reconnaissance. I do so much other stuff, people hunting, companies and stuff. And sure, Maltego has, plugins for that. But in my opinion, it doesn't do a good job. It gives you a lot of garbage. And when I create mind maps, I pick and choose what goes in the mind map. If it's garbage, it will not go in there. And Maltego is too difficult for me to control on how it spreads like wildfire so quickly. And honestly, a mind map's goal is a summary of your 50-hour investigation. And that summary should not be 50 little points to look at, because it's no longer a summary then. So that's why I control how I create my mind maps. They're summarized one-page views for the person who's reading the document for the first time.
I'm super glad that you mentioned Obsidian, because I use that as frequently as I can. And I've been bad about, taking notes. I did finally bite the bullet and just got the Obsidian sync. So that way I'm not like trying to juggle random different GitHub repositories for, private internal notes. Now it's at least some easy, convenient kind of cloud hosted solution. But I do love their graph and map and in their canvas capabilities. So I would echo that without a doubt. Some folks is asking, hey, do you use Sherlock or any other more automated tools, or I don't know, something off the shelf, or is it all now custom at this point for you?
Well, it's a mixture of both. I mostly use off-the-shelf stuff because those things change a lot. So every time there's an update in Sherlock or there's a fork, I use a lot of forks. There's a fork called Maigret. It's a fork of Sherlock. It gives you slightly better results. And so I'll use those as is. I'm not going to modify the code because every time it's updated, it's, my modified code won't work anymore, or I'll have to kind of maintain so much code. So it gives me the results I want, and Sherlock is good. And that's what I run in like Kali and stuff. So I have a whole bunch of tools that I run in Kali Linux. Sherlock is definitely one of them. And there's alternatives to it. And like I said, if what'smyname.app stops working, that's my go-to tool because it's in a browser. I go to Sherlock or Maigret and I start similar searches there. Or if I get stuck on the web version of it, like what'smyname.app, it's a different tool, but it does a similar thing. If I can't find anything, then I go one level more advanced and open up Kali Linux and try some of these command line tools. So there's, obviously I won't try it every single time, but I have a kind of a workflow, basic tools, then intermediate tools, then really advanced tools. That's going to take me time as well. And it's all a matter of how much time am I really going to spend on this investigation.
Maybe a question from me, but I feel like I know the answer. So it might just be, I don't know, maybe teeing you up, but how much stock do you put in some of those sort of all-in-one, one-stop shop OSINT framework things? Like I know of Spiderfoot, and I don't know, just a couple others that pop up here and there that want to be the all-encompassing big picture view, everything OSINT solution. But I have a hunch you're going to tell me like, no, you kind of need to know all the things in
Zero.
the toolkit. Yeah.
No, zero, because again, now I'm depending on a very fancy tool, which I don't know how it works. If it fails, that's it. My entire workflow fails now. Secondly, I'm more of a sharpshooter when it comes to OSINT. I have a goal in mind. So the worst goal anyone can give me in OSINT is find out everything about John Doe. I'm like, everything? That's a lot of information. I could spend 2 months and I'll still won't have everything. So I need very specific goals. Find out if this hit and run was done by this person, or who's the owner of this vehicle plate number, or here's a scammer with this email address, or here's a cryptocurrency address, find the person behind it. All right, these are very specific goals. For specific goals, you need to be a sharpshooter, a sniper, not a machine gun and just spray and pray. So those tools are kind of like that. They'll do everything, and I'm like, I don't want it to do everything. I just wanted to do these 1 or 2 things, and that's why I'm not a believer in those big tools. Also, I can't recreate it. I'm like, how is it getting it? So for every piece of information that I get, and this is responsible OSINT work, I need to verify it. I need to know, was this really true, or was this disinformation inserted on a website or in a tool? If I can't get the answer to that, if I can't verify it, I throw it out. I throw that piece of information out, because you got to understand, this is very important stuff we're doing. If it's a criminal or potential criminal, we're basing a whole argument that this guy did evil or whatever, or this person is responsible for XYZ based on false or unverified information, or a tool that I don't know how works. I'm not going to be that irresponsible. So there's a lot of responsibility that comes with great power comes great responsibility.
Oh yeah, no, that makes complete sense. Well, goodness, this is phenomenal. And it's always like, oh, the very last end of the show where it's like, oh, now there's a flood of questions. But a lot of really cool, great insight, some good comments that are coming in. And if I may, I know we're probably past our hour mark, and there are a lot of really things that we could drill down into. But please, 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 for the folks tuning in, we'd love to see you hang out in Discord. And that's one of the venues and vessels that we're using to add some support to the Just Hacking training. So I'll slap that link up on the screen just again, super duper quick. If folks did want to learn a little bit more from Mishal, this beginner level OSINT course is out and about now, but soon we'll have that level up intermediate and more advanced stuff. And that's incredible to me, because you're running hard and fast on OSINT. I think OPSEC is another realm, and the whole geo OSINT world is another incredible world. So thank you again and again and again. I'm just ecstatic and so happy and grateful to see this all coming together, and the incredible work that you do. But hey, I would love for anyone tuning in to join the party just as well. Thank you so much, Mishal. Maybe on Discord, if you're ever up for it, we could do some of those live investigations or over the shoulder. Hey, get to see some of the quick skunk work, scrappy OSINT stuff that you do get to do. Sharpshooter in action.
The first opportunity I get for a little bit of time, yeah, let's do it. Excellent. So probably June or July. No.
Well, plenty of time.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. I'm here to help. Anyone has any questions, just ask me. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. I open up Discord every now and then. Less distractions, but yeah, reach out.
Super duper cool. Well, let's do this again sometime soon, Mishal. This was a ton of fun.
Thank you so much.
Alrighty. Take care, everyone. Have a great night, day, afternoon, whatever time zone you're at now. But thanks again. We'll see you on the internet.